What do we do?
Freedom Forum 1, here we are.
On a very good day, the 6th month, the 8th day in 2016, 70 years ago on this day, a fine gentleman was born.
John White just said that. God help us all.
Yeah, all in.
John
The
White.
United States of America got a great citizen 70 years ago on this day.
It's his birthday today.
Oh, yeah. Made it to 70. Now I'm betting on 80.
You made it to 70 above room temperature.
Yeah, above
how
room
we say it.
temperature, yes. Anyways, a lot of stuff going on as usual. Guess we'll say our regular prayer.
That was a pretty good one there. We got to go over that one. Oh, boy. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. Prayer for you as you fight for the children of Louisiana. And after what took place, they approved the rebranding of Common Core. And I want to tell you before I say this prayer, Common Core is not gone. It's here. It's
Like
just under
Athlete's Foot.
It's under another name.
Like
And I'm
Athlete's
going to
Foot
talk a little
comes
bit
back.
more about that in a minute. The passion of Christ strengthens me. Strengthen me under the pressure of temptation. Strengthen me when principle is at stake. Strengthen me to do your will, my God. Strengthen me in moments of suffering, in times of loneliness, and in periods of depression. Strengthen me that I may never swerve from you, dear Christ, nor weaken through human respect, through a desire to be popular, through hope of social distinction. Strengthen me to accept my cross and carry it generously to the end. On the battlefield of life, stand by me that I may never prove a traitor in the ranks. Stand by me that I may not be dazzled by the glitter and glow of the enemy camp. Amen. Make no mistake, this is a spiritual battle for the free-thinking minds of our children. What will your part have been when all is said and done? That, every week, that last comment, what will your part be? You know, Brett and I talk about this all the time. You know, I just don't and I was just talking about it a few minutes ago. I can't get over the number of people that think Hillary and Bernie are going to make our country great. Is Trump going to do that? I think we got a bigger chance with
Well,
him.
the interesting part about Hillary is that we have so much of her history and her track record. We know what she will do because she has done it. It's a pretty deep situation.
I saw a really interesting article today. What is it? Who guards them? The FBI?
Secret Service.
Secret Service. There's sudden applications for a bunch of people to get out of the Secret Service in December if Hillary wins in November. And you know why? Because back in 1993, they had to deal with Hillary.
Speaking of Hillary, I have something here that's pretty interesting that people need to know. In this AN, I have the list of the dead ATF agents at Waco. In this AN, I have the list of the dead surrounding Hillary. There are 4 names that are on both lists. It would seem that Steve Willis, Robert Williams, Conway LeBleu, and Todd McKeon were former Clinton bodyguards. Funny, the BATF agents who died at Waco are Conway LeBleu, Todd McKeon, Robert Williams, Stephen Willis. Now, do y'all find it interesting that those Clinton bodyguards were the ones that were killed at Waco? Can y'all connect the dots? Can y'all also connect the dots that the ATF agents former Clinton bodyguards were killed with ATF bullets in their backs because at the time, the ATF was using a peculiar armor-piercing bullet made by PMC. And they were the only agency who had that bullet. And those were the bullets dug out of the backs of their own agents.
Honestly, you think this will make any difference in whether she gets elected or not?
No, but I want the people to understand that the ATF killed their own people at Waco, and the Davidians were blamed for it and charged for it.
That's a time frame where I was stupid. Believed in my government.
Oh, you can believe in your government, all right. You can have confidence. They will do things to you that the average lower city rapist wouldn't consider.
Well,
you know.
we have a few announcements. The Gun and Knife Show is this weekend, the 11th and 12th, Saturday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Sunday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Gee, look at all this Second Amendment stuff. Guns, knives, holsters, ammunition, magazines, military items, camouflage. And that's at the Lafayette Event Center, which is next to Crystal College and across from Courtesy GMC, 4607 Johnston Street.
Folks, time is growing short. If you do not have enough ammo, weaponry, accessories, whatever, you better get it soon. And all you got to do is ask some people who survived Katrina, how much is enough? Well, if power is out for anywhere from a week to a month, law enforcement is not available, and the hobgoblins are coming up the road, and they're hungry, and they want to party with you girls in your house. How many weapons do you have? How well do you shoot? And how deep is your bullet stash?
Now, tomorrow night, the Acadiana Patriots, and I started putting this little statement in there, it is open to the public.
Duh.
It always has been. The Patriots' monthly meeting is tomorrow at 6 p.m. at the Robichaux Recreation Center. Harold Scheffler will be speaking on the dangers of the I-49 connector. Somebody sent me several emails and said, dangers? Following his talk, there will be a Q&A session. Also speaking will be Carol Ross about red flex and on the no-bid contracts. That second one really interests me. And then Brett Gould, I don't know who that guy is, will be giving a presentation on herbs and essential oils and how they're beneficial to our health.
Yes, we're going to discuss rolling paper, rolling, smoking, that good herb. Medicinal purposes.
The legislative session will have ended and the budget session will be going on. I've also been reprimanded for making a comment.
Oh.
Well, Dumbbell Edwards isn't going over well at the Capitol.
Well, Jim, it's a funny thing. If he had any sense of the honor that he puts forth in his honor code, if he wasn't a tax and spend liberal, if he wasn't kicking Charles Bustani out of line to be able to smooch and hold hands with Obama when he flew down to congratulate him, maybe we wouldn't call him Dumbbell Edwards.
Updates will be given. Tell your friends about the meeting because this will be an informed time to wake up, take America back starting now. It's at the Robichaux Center from 6 to 8:30. This meeting, and I'll give add a girl to Patty. She is the one that actually put these two speakers in touch with me. Here's the deal. These are the type of meetings that people complain about in the public. We know because right here at AOC, I tried to attend a meeting the other week and they didn't let me in.
No, Jim. They know you from before today?
No, I think so. But the thing is now this is in an atmosphere where it's the Acadiana Patriots, totally conservative group, and there's not going to be anybody restricting the questions that you can answer as long as you're not hostile.
Yeah, as long as you don't get stupid, everybody's.
But I mean, these are two people, Harold Scheffler and Carol Ross, who have all their lives been involved in the community in Lafayette and care about the community in Lafayette. Carol Ross was on the radio this morning on Winging It Wednesday.
She's one of their best and brightest at KPEL.
And Cottle, he does a pretty
Warren
good job.
Cottle.
Warren Cottle is pretty sharp.
I like Warren's brand of conservatism because he's a non-vet like you are, and Warren has a pretty salty disposition when it comes for foolishness, and he doesn't put up with it, and I like that.
No, and he this morning he talked about some pretty good things. And the thing is, we put on these meetings. You people got to get out to the meetings.
But wait, there's baseball. LSU baseball was on, Jim. They can't come to a meeting. Come on now.
LSU don't play till Saturday night at 8 o'clock.
Well, but they're still talking about the baseball. There's other important things. They can't be bothered with real life that may enslave or impact their families. They can't worry about that.
What's interesting is I do get some time to watch those. I thought it was interesting the other day. LSU played yesterday at 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and I knew that I didn't want to cut the grass on my birthday, so I started cutting the grass at 3:15.
Our reporter just sent us a very good story. The feds are spending nearly $20,000 to settle every refugee that comes into the United States, and the number will jump up spending-wise if another 10,000 comes in. I had that in my notes for tonight. $20,000, folks, of your tax money is being spent on jihadists being imported. Yet we have veterans from our wars who are sleeping on the street, homeless with no medical care. Think about that when you want to vote for a politician.
Well, and you
Yes.
see, that's the reason to come to the meetings and get involved with the Acadiana Patriots. Because we can do more. We take care, we do a lot of different things for the vet home in Jennings because they reached out to us. And I know the different times we need things. It's not all about that. The clinic is being built on Ambassador Caffrey, which was the worst place they could have put it, but through some resources, I found out that somebody's pocket.
Oh, you mean those no-bid contracts, that kind of
Yeah,
thing?
no big contracts again.
There you go.
And you see, I talked to Carol Ross, and she brought just before we were getting off the phone, she says, "Oh, Jim, and also I'll talk about the no bid contracts." And I didn't have time to ask her. I'm going to confirm them again tomorrow. But this is going to be a meeting that is, and there's people outside of the Lafayette area. You need to attend these meetings because what happens here happens there. This connector thing, there's 3 levels of the connector thing. And it's gonna, I'm telling you, they don't care what you think. That's why Scheffler speaking, he really, from what I understand, put on a pretty good presentation.
That's pretty interesting.
And they want to run this through there. Look at the mess in Baton Rouge, running it right through the middle of Baton Rouge.
And traffic in Lafayette is bad already. If it doesn't do anything positive, and one of the big problems we had when they did that redesign of some of the Lafayette intersections a few years ago, I don't know what the Lafayette engineers thought they were doing, but they goofed up some intersections. Just go to the intersection of Camellia Boulevard and Johnson Street, how they made the turn lanes and how they rearranged that. It boggles the mind. There was nothing wrong with it before. There is now.
They had money to spend.
I guess they did.
You see, all of this, Yeah, I turned 70 today, and I'll never see this.
Here's a good one. They're calling the Clintons Laureate College issue the Laureate leprosy. Ooh. Bill Clinton got paid $16 million to be the honorary chairman of Laureate University. But they want to talk about Trump, as if Trump has a problem with his.
Well, this is the thing. Tomorrow night, there's a lot of people that come that are true conservatives, very educated. One of the things that I get from speakers like Brett Guyman and J.C. and Fleming and people that are in the realm is that we have an educated group of people. Now, how did that happen? It didn't happen by staying at home, sitting on the couch. And believe me, I mean, I honestly see more people becoming aware, but not enough.
It's almost too little too late.
Yep, and the thing is, I do what I do. I got a 2-month-old grandson, and you know, you people sit at home. I've been involved in Common Core. This year I got involved in a lot of other stuff, and I'm telling you, what I saw take place this year at the Capitol, the rebranding of Common Core, the taxation without representation. Oh. And it is. They're changing things. He went around the legislation on Medicaid and did an executive order and put Medicaid in place. Sore subject with me, because I know the statistics. They tell you the federal government pays for 90% of that. So we add 350,000 people to the rolls, and we pay 10%. That we weren't paying 10% on last year. And we're $600 million in the hole. I wrote a thing to Edwards stating what I felt would take care of the $600 million. And it's two really simple things. One, stop the fraud. Two, stop the fraud. The amount of money, what did we see the other week? That lady was $32 million that they took in welfare and food stamps.
The fraud. And
so
then,
that's one person, $32 million over 6 years.
And John Kennedy said right now they can solve that if they just canceled every consultant that's up there right now. They could drop that.
Why do we have over, I don't know the exact number, let's just say 1,000 external consultants for our state government?
That would solve the budget problem right there. But no, they want to raise our taxes.
Now, the problem there is, and the problem across politics in the United States, is the fact that we got to take care of our people that donated money to us. That's what it is. Flat, simple. You know, this stuff right here. I want to touch to show you how idiotic our state government is. John White filed a lawsuit to block James Finney's public records request.
Now, Jim, I don't even know if that's legal because a public records request under the Freedom of Information Act is federal law.
Here's what he says. Superintendent John White sued private citizen James Finney because Finney is making too many public records requests.
It's the law.
Now, John, I wish you were listening, because I will tell you why that man is making those public requests. because you are a fraud.
Doo!
I'm not going to beat around the bush. I don't do that very often, do I?
Go right up the middle.
You are a fraud. There is so much corruption. It was a couple of $1 million, and John White didn't know where it went. I wonder why Finney was asking you for public records.
Are there any records?
Well,
That's the next big question. Are there any?
see John White's 2 sets of 2015 ACT scores. You know, Finney also asked for total number of students for this ridiculous table. You go through this article. The first law that White's lawyer cites as an exemption, Louisiana RS 17391. The statute refers to the results of tests to determine students' minimum level of proficiency. Finney is asking for the statewide scoring distributions.
Yeah,
What's so difficult about that?
Yeah, because he wants to
You
see
got nothing to
exactly
cover up?
exactly how people did on the tests without the tweaks.
The second exemption is another which concerns student name, address, and telephone number. Finney has not asked for such identifying information. Lie number 2. The third supposed exemption, which concerns divulging the actual test itself, Finney has not asked to see any actual test. You see how stupid the lawsuit is? Now, what I want to ask you is our budget is $600 million in the hole. Who's paying for this lawsuit? John White? I don't think so. What I want to do is educate you on John White.
That could take a while.
Well, I won't bring the person's name into this in a personal conversation, but this person said that John White wasn't even qualified to be his assistant principal.
I know who you're speaking of.
Yes, and a great person.
And he was accurate, too.
Yes, and here's the deal. John White is not even qualified to be a vice principal.
And how much money are they paying that buzzard?
$330,000 plus.
Well, we should start on the budget problem there because the governor only makes $130,000 a year. So why is John White making 300 something?
See, the thing is,
No wonder my department never could get a raise.
They had to change all the qualifications in order for him to get the job.
Isn't that nice?
You know, and I'm trying to think back if Dumbbell Edwards, oh yeah, he did say during the campaign that he didn't like John White and that he wanted to remove John White.
We see how well that worked out.
John White is on a month-to-month contract. Now, some idiot named James Garvey, oh, that's somebody else I know.
Ooh.
Who's the president? Who is the president of the Bessie Board?
Our in-the-field reporter just had a good one. Hillary stands up and says that she has been doing this for 40 years. And the next caption is, that's one hell of a crime spree. Like that. Yowza.
They've got a backlog of FOIA requests on emails from Hillary.
Takes 75 years, they claim, to do them all.
Right.
Really? Wait a minute, I thought she couldn't find them all. I thought she deleted a bunch of them, so why is this list so big? You know?
Well, there's 3 different assistants that they.
Oh, and by the way, Tom,
Yes.
Brian Pagliano, who is Hillary's IT guy that set up the server in the closet or wherever it is, he will be the next dead guy.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to have some type of accident. He's either going to choke on a hairball or a car wreck, or a Clinton bodyguard is going to die with him or something. Something. You know?
I mean, it's so obvious. That's what I'm saying. You know, people don't come to our meeting. We talk about this stuff. I mean, Brett and I said if speakers didn't show up, him and I could do the TV show at the Patriots meeting.
Easy.
Easy.
All we do is stand up there and talk about what we're talking about that's currently on the TV.
But the thing is we put out information on this show, on at the Patriots meetings, at your meetings,
I go back
at
through a lot of this
Elise's,
stuff too.
you know, and I don't get it. I mean, we have over 500 supposed members. On the average, we have 50 to 75 people at the meeting,
10%.
which is normal. You know, and there's more, if more people got involved, there's more things we could do in the community, you know?
Jim, people have other priorities than watching their country go to hell.
My wife said to me when I was going out the door today, I don't know how you do it. All the stuff, you don't stop. You're like a machine. You don't quit. And I said, I'm only 70 years old. But it's like, I know people that are 20 years younger than me that, oh man, it's like, hey, I live every day to the fullest.
You have more time to aggravate them in Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
You have more time.
Yeah, I found that it was best that I didn't go to Baton Rouge during the session for many reasons. But I am there at the session. And it's called texting. Texting your representatives because they were polite enough to give me their phone number.
Ooh. Keo.
One of the grandkids wants to know what channel I'm on.
By the way, something else further to aggravate y'all out in TV land. It's pretty interesting. Michelle Obama is complaining that she is living in the house built by slaves.
Wow, we found out she's not a history major.
Well, first off, my first response to that is I take in mind the $100 million in vacations that she has spent so far. So, you know, it seems kind of rough living, you know, with that level of squalor she has to put up with. Second thing is, actually, no, the house wasn't built by slave labor because I watched a special on it. And in fact, the Truman administration completely gutted the place and put in a steel infrastructure and frame system and completely remodeled the White House in the 50s. So outside of the literal outer shell walls, everything was built by highly skilled, specialized craftsmen.
Oh, yeah.
And not slaves. But being as Michelle is only a disbarred lawyer, she wouldn't know.
Let's add to that story. Let's add the fact that she was talking to 50 new citizens, okay, that became citizens.
Right.
And she said, you're just like the 50 people that signed the Constitution who became Americans and were not born here when they signed the Constitution. Ding, ding, you failed. 44 out of the 50 were born in this country. 6 were not.
You know, since Obama and his mate, for lack of a better word,
Well, we don't know.
have landed, that's why I said mate, because we don't know whether it's animal, vegetable, or mineral.
Or trans.
Oh, we don't know what it is. But since they landed in the White House with entourage and mother-in-law, the level of ignorance in that house has been at epic proportions. Obama believes his own rhetoric, which is completely, he says some stupid
He's
stuff
totally delusional.
that's delusional. Anybody who can read can tell you right now that this country is in the worst state it has ever been in since the Great Depression. And Obama stands up in front of the world Well, I've made the most immaculate conceptual recovery that we have ever had. You know, I've saved the country. And then I have actually had Obama voters argue with me, and when I tell them that he has spent more money than every other president combined, yeah, but he needed to spend that to fix the stuff that Bush broke. I'm going, dummy. He spent more than Bush and everyone in front of him for 225 years by himself. And I'd like to know, the trip to Africa, I'd like to know, because I bet you we don't have that figure, what it cost to park the 6th Fleet, a complete battle fleet, off the coast of Africa, because we only got the bill for the Secret Service and the flights and the cars, not for how many carriers, how many jets, because you know when Obama's over there, they got jets flying air cap overhead constantly. How much jet fuel, how much pilot time, they had to bring a carrier task force from somewhere else important because the turd and the turdette want to go to Africa where they're unwanted because they don't like freeloaders in Africa. Everybody over there has to work for a living.
In his hometown?
Oh, yes, the Kenyan son comes home.
Yeah. And they sent him away. And they also, what did they tell him not to talk about? Gays.
Oh, yeah.
And so what does he do?
Oh, he beats on the drum.
And it was what, 10 million people or 100 million people? And said, get out of here.
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
You want to get this one? This is a pretty good one here that you got.
yeah.
This is important. Folks, we are continuing to find out interesting things about Comandante El Jefe Primo Mike Edmondson of the Louisiana State Police. You know, folks,
I'm going to read you.
corruption there is
before
epic.
Before I go in here, it's my buddy Dumbbell. It's a comment about my buddy Dumbbell. And then I'll go into the article. Edmondson, JBE's object of shame. And yet another excellent discussion of Edmondson et al. Illogical reasoning and timidity. Edmondson is either afraid of his direct reports or a bad boy wannabe that surrounds himself with sleazy people in order to rationalize that he is one of the tough guys.
Really?
And we citizens pay the price of poor policing as a result. Caution, slippery when wet. The comments were as good as the article.
Oh, yeah.
I usually don't print out the comments.
But these are gold.
So taxpayers are paying Chris Gilroy almost $120,000 a year to drive 3 hours to Baton Rouge, to work 2 hours, probably takes an hour and a half lunch break, and then drives 3 hours back to Sulphur. No wonder the state has a huge budget problems. I would take that job for half the money, and I have no criminal record.
Oh, yeah.
Why are our representatives allowing this? I did see Edmondson's so-called confirmation hearing, but then turn around and complain about the state's budget if there's anyone in Baton Rouge with common sense.
Now, Jim, here's the interesting part. That same confirmation hearing is the same hearing that got rid of my former boss, Dr. Mary Livers.
Is that right?
And the interesting part is that that's the same hearing staff. And basically, they chewed both butt cheeks off of my old boss, not that she didn't deserve it. But the stuff that the state police commandant did is even more criminal than the stuff that my former boss did. And yet, they played patty cakes with him and smiled and gave him a pass. Of course, he's Dumbbell Edwards approved now.
Oh, yeah. But he hasn't not been confirmed yet. I don't think the legislation, do they have to confirm him?
Well, I think that was the hearing to do it.
Might have been.
That's what I read, that was the Senate committee hearing to do it.
May well have been.
And they did confirm him. That was the one.
Oh, God.
He got the blessing.
You know, ever since you told me what those police officers, those state troopers get paid in public cars to sit along I-10, I said, I want the job.
Jim, the interesting thing about it is the state police, before their raises, were the highest paid law enforcement in the state. I mean, they're already starting at probably close between 48 and 50,000 before they got the raises.
Is there some tie to Edmondson and the state police?
El Comandante.
I don't know.
Then they got the 40% raise, but it's compounded. They got 20% first, then they got 10%, then they got 10%. And on top of that, if you go and read in the traffic code, Louisiana traffic code is Title 32. And in Title 32, only state troopers are allowed to do escorts. So they are allowed to use a state vehicle to make off-duty personal money.
Do they pay expenses for gas and stuff back to the state?
No. It's all pure profit. And by the way,
How couldn't I get a business like
well,
that?
Jim, wait. You're missing the big part. State troopers are allowed to drive that trooper car as their personal vehicle, expenses paid. They go on shift from the house and go back to the house. They drive it to the grocery store. They drive it everywhere. So it's a police presence. They justify it with. That's unnecessary. That's unnecessary.
It's also.
Well, they're doing it.
Here we go. The LSP means Louisiana State Police. Has manufactured its own loophole for denying public records requests.
Make it up as you
We're
go
in the
along.
public records request
Oh, yeah.
deal here with this state. John White, now the state police. Colonel Mike Edmondson apparently has come to the conclusion if he makes a decision not to formally punish, the public has no right to know why. In other words, if someone is victimized by a member of the Department of Public Safety and Edmondson deems it not worthy of punishment, the public has no right to review the decision.
Sounds like the secret police to me.
Sounds like Gestapo. On the contrary, it would seem to us that someone is exonerated. This is all the more reason to produce the information. The LSP further claims that when those who resign in lieu of completion of an investigation, the investigative report is not subject to release. You know, keep reading the paragraph, Jim. We think Edmondson is, this is a good one. Edmondson is tired of the public's learning of far too many instances of misconduct at the LSP, followed by mindset of circling the wagons. He has initiated a pattern of issuing no punishment in an apparent effort to hide misconduct. The reason for not administering punishment is in the investigation file. Many of the investigation files from LSP have shown to be seriously biased in favor of some, while severe for others. Typically, LSP has denied public record requests for investigation files when the department finds no wrongdoing.
And they find no wrongdoing a lot.
The standard response to requests for information generally reads, the investigative report you requested is not subject to release as the individual's right of privacy afforded by Article 1, Section 5 of Louisiana Constitution of 1974. Okay.
Well, if that's true, Jim.
Let's talk about personal.
Well, Jim, if that is true, then let's make a comparison. Then why are the records requests that are getting Marshall Pope's issues put in front of Judge Jules Edwards, resulting in Marshall Pope being charged and arrested,
Yep.
whereas in this situation, there's a whole nother set of rules for Louisiana State Police. Amazing.
How many months ago did I call the ethics?
Oh, back right after the election. Election was in November. This is what, 7 months, 8 months ago?
Yeah, and wasn't it about,
This. Yeah, it was about, specifically what it was about was the civil service aspect of Louisiana State
Donating
Police
money.
employment being unable to participate in a political campaign, and the State Troopers Association publicly endorsed who? Dumbbell Edwards! Dumbbell Edwards! Sis, boom, ba, rah, rah, rah. We love Dumbbell! We love Dumbbell! That's what the trooper said.
yep, and I didn't even return my phone call.
No.
Unbelievable. Now, Chris Gilry.
Captain Chris Gilry. That is Edmund's special friend. He's special.
Has received a response to a complaint filed against Louisiana Voice. Has received a response to a complaint filed about Captain Chris Gilry for lying to LSP Internal Affairs investigators. A citizen said that Gilry refused to accept his complaint against State Trooper in Troop D. The response to the complaint from the LSP states in part, a determination has been made that Captain Gilry did not make a false statement to IA, Internal Affairs, with his denial that he refused to accept the complaint. The complainant provided an audio tape directly contradicting the two documented statements made by Gilry to LSP Internal Affairs. You can review it, and there's a place to go.
Go to YouTube. Jim, it goes back to my old buddy favorite saying, never let the truth get in the way of a good story. Captain Chris Gilry here appears to be like many. He's like the turd that won't flush. It just keeps circling the commode bowl, and you keep wasting water trying to make it go down. And what do? They promoted him. He got promoted to a big position in Baton Rouge now. He's not just a captain. He got moved up.
Here was another one. Accepting excess money for violating state-issued permit and bribery.
No.
We requested the investigation files involving a trooper who accepted extra money for moving oversized loads in violation of the state-issued permit and possibly bribery. It was discovered after another trooper refused the extra payment. The response was to make the trooper give the extra money back.
Oh, no.
We were notified no complaint was filed, so they did not investigate it. We are not done. The failure to release records at the discretion of one man with a proven track record of, they really nailing them here, of unethical behavior and poor decision making should not be allowed to stand. The public has a right to know about the circumstances surrounding a resignation in lieu of termination and an investigation.
Brock looked up the pay raises here. I was wrong, folks. It's after the first year that it goes to $40,000. They start at $35,000 in the academy, and Edmondson's proposal would boost that to $46,000, which is a 31% increase. So after the first year, it grows from $40,906 to $50,000 under the proposal, and nearly 25% boost. And that's for rookies. We're talking rookie pay. We're not talking about anybody who's been there for a while.
Straight up pay.
Right.
They do a lot of overtime work.
Well, and I'll tell you another little secret too. If they ever have a hazmat situation, when that hazmat team from the state police comes out, that's billed per person. I want to say at about $80 to $100 an hour.
Oh.
Yep.
See, what it says here, this is the Louisiana Voice, by the way, that wrote this article. The failure to release records, the public has a right to know. They further have a right to know why public employee was found to have committed no wrongdoing, if for no other reason than to fully clear the employee's name and his public standing. There is no reason to hide such information unless indeed there is something to hide. Louisiana Voice is exploring legal remedies for these denials.
Oh, Jim, did you see the other one that was on the page? That other paragraph. That one. That was.
This one?
That was pretty interesting.
This?
No.
Oh.
Trooper Jimmy Rogers, and there was another one in there that was pretty interesting.
Rogers
too.
suddenly resigned in the beginning of a massive investigations of Troop D. We were denied access to his records because LSP did not complete the investigation.
Mm-hmm.
This is another method of Edmondson's escaping culpability for poor leadership. Ask them to resign so no one finds out.
Flip your page back when you get a minute. There was another interesting thing in there. These troopers were being rewarded with, yeah, there you go, at the bottom here. This is pretty interesting because what I read was they were getting paid something called Brady Days for DWI
Yeah, here it is.
arrests.
We requested the documentation involving the investigation into Brady Days. What's that, the Brady kids or?
Yeah.
Paid time off for arresting someone for a DWI in violation of quota and payroll fraud laws.
And it was named for the trooper
So
supervisor
named the
Brady.
Troop D supervisor who allowed, indeed, encouraged the practice. Sources indicate Brady Days was an unwritten policy at Troop D under some supervisors, and that was confirmed by IA Internal Affairs investigators. We were informed there was no finding of wrongdoing on the Brady's part, but again, we were denied access to any investigation.
See, folks, what this comes down to is that technically in Louisiana, there are actually laws on the books against quotas for writing tickets. But I can tell you right now, folks, if a Louisiana state trooper, let me borrow this from my meeting.
Yeah,
It's
you
pretty
can
good.
have it.
If a Louisiana state trooper comes off of a shift and has not written a single ticket, folks, I can tell you that his response
Already?
from his sergeant and lieutenant will not be popular, okay? And the other thing that's interesting too is that those Brady Days were rewarding those troopers for gathering extra revenue for more arrests. So it's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. And you notice nothing happened because they encouraged that.
Well, they must be having a heck of a quota in New Iberia, huh?
Well, that's an interesting thing right now because the state police in New Iberia are working traffic on St. Peter and Main Street, according to sources, and at the request of the city council, because they claimed that they wanted some more traffic work and more enforcement done. So, been pretty interesting. Pretty interesting.
I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
you tie that in. Let's look at the overall picture. You got John White filing a lawsuit on a citizen. I mean, think about that. Then you got Colonel Edmondson and his gang of what?
Thugs.
Thugs covering it up. It really makes me kind of, I'm going to be a really good boy on the highway because I don't want to get stopped by a trooper.
Jim, that brings up another point. You know, we always hear lawmakers, legislators, judges talking about, quote, the rule of law. It seems to only apply to us little people because everything we've just said for the past 47 minutes has been sin, degradation, lies, corruption, bribes, kickbacks, crooked cops, crooked public officials. I mean,
You look at the I-49 connector. The guy stood right in this building and told the people, you need to go with what I say we go with.
or
Or else. This is what we're gonna do.
or
No or.
yeah, it's implied.
No or.
Here was a good one. Former Navy SEAL Matt Bracken put something out that was pretty interesting. We're not the only one with funny laws. The British Broadcasting Corporation is purposely breaking employment laws and publicly stating that they are not hiring the inherently evil, racist white people. Really?
Wow.
Really? That's just bizarre. We're not the only people who have public outrage.
You know, it's
It's amazing.
I mean, I always get asked about the stress level I have. It's not there. And I brought it with me tonight, but we're not going to have time for me to do it. But the thing is, the thing is, you look at all the stuff that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I sit back every time Hillary comes on the TV. If I'm watching TV, I change the channel because I don't want to have to run to the bathroom and throw up.
How do you know she's lying? Her lips are moving. She's breathing.
I mean, the other day, I loved it. She goes, "Hey, inequality. We need to get rid of inequality." And then the guy writes in the article about the $11,282 coat
By
that she was
Giorgio,
wearing by Giorgio.
Armani.
But we got to get inequality out of there.
Now, folks, let's go back and look at this. The total price of that item of clothes was, I think, $12,649 with tax. Okay. Now, the interesting factor is that's more than a lot of people have paid for their cars, and she's wearing that as a coat. Now, first off, one of the reasons why it costs so much is to cover up behind that big. Probably takes a lot of fabric, because those pantsuits have to be custom cut.
I'm glad you kept that clean.
Oh yeah, because
I knew what you were going to say.
and by the way,
It might be something that starts with an A and two falls.
well, the problem they had was they actually had to get a seal of approval from Greenpeace, because such a large piece of fabric was used to cover that obstruction. They wanted to make sure that it was also
but
certified by the whaling industry.
They might have used a lot of stuff out of the air.
Who knows?
I really think that because they fly so much, I saw about 4 chemtrails today.
Yeah, but Hillary by herself doesn't leave chemtrails because she's using that new high-speed broom. It's okay when she makes her lap around things,
Well, you caught on to that one. You
Oh
got
yeah,
that.
she's using that. She got that.
You got that one.
She's got that
I
Harry.
thought I could slip one past you, but I
She's
didn't
got
get
that
it.
Harry Potter high-speed broom with that kickstart. Let me tell you,
I
old
gotta
Bill,
give him an A+ on that one.
Air Force One can't keep up with Hillary on her
You caught
broom.
that one right away.
And by the way, according to informed sources, the old bag is so full of hot air. When she lets the hot air go, bud, she just takes off like a Rayto assist on a B-52 on a bombing mission.
Since we're talking about women, man in the ladies' room hits home.
Oh, I covered that one on Facebook. Karma, come back to smack the anti-Christian lawyers union. Praise the Lord.
Man in the ladies' room hits home for ACLU interim director. Because her daughters were frightened by biological males using the women's restroom, she resigned. She
It's
also resigned
okay.
because of the ACLU's increasing focus on legislating what it and the far left champion, allowing those who are confused over their sexuality and who are perhaps gender selective on a given day. Transgender is the optimum word to use a bathroom that doesn't correspond to God-given biological sex with which they're born.
So, Jim, here goes the crux
I
of
was
this.
doing hallelujahs when I
Oh
was...
yeah, here goes the crux. It's okay for everybody else's little girls to be assaulted by perverts in the bathroom, but oh my God, when it happens to the anti-Christian lawyers union director, my girls were assaulted by a hairy pervert in the bathroom. No! That hairy man come up to my girl.
But you see, I like stuff like this.
She did too.
Yeah. It's like the girl. It's like the girl that said, "I'm going to travel Europe and show
Yeah.
show you that ISIS is a really nice thing." Well,
they beat her to death.
raped her and killed her.
It was a
And left-
one-way trip.
Huh?
One-way trip.
Yeah.
Sure was.
She was hitchhiking around.
Sure was.
I'll finish up real quick in this half hour with something that Memorial Day.
That is just
This is,
amazing.
as a military veteran, outrage. Former Marine fired for honoring the flag. It may be one of the most unpatriotic moves from a major company and has Americans everywhere up in arms. A former Marine said he was fired from his contract job with Time Warner Cable in Charlotte, North Carolina, after he lowered the American flag to half-staff on Memorial Day. The Charlotte Observer reports Alan Thornwell was thinking about his best friend, a former Marine, who he says killed himself 2 years ago after returning stateside. The 29-year-old Thornwell was fired last Tuesday. According to the Associated Press, the placement service that arranged the job for Thornwell said Time Warner told him they were disturbed by what he termed his passion for the flag and his political affiliation. This is a Marine. This is a former Marine. Thornwell says he was in shock over the firing. I don't know what kind of moral compass you need to fire a veteran on Memorial Day for lowering the flag. It's disgraceful. Murph Archibald, a Vietnam vet, and Thornwell's attorney, told the Charlotte Observer he didn't do anything wrong. He's a veteran working on Memorial Day who corrected what he thought was a disrespectful flying of the American flag. I would have taken it down myself. Time Warner spokesman confirmed Friday that the former Marine was no longer under contract with the company, but declined further comment. You bunch of jacks. That's unbelievable. What is Memorial Day about? Respecting the dead that gave their lives for our country. I don't, it's beyond my comprehension what goes on in this country and the disrespect for veterans. It's gotta stop. We're free because a lot of people gave their lives to allow us to sit here and do this. And I'm telling you, you don't wake up, people, in about 6 months or less, you may not have that opportunity.
Land of Hillary.